Hello everyone, I'm Sofi and I'm currently at Kechara Forest Retreat, Bentong, Malaysia. And today I'll be doing something very special. I'll be reading from the biography of my Guru, His Eminence the 25th Sam Tuku Rinpoche, The Promise. As you can see from the book behind me, that's the promise. So we will start off with the prologue today. And there's the foreword. Okay, the foreword is from the Gande Trisol Lunrik Namgyal. I'm very pleased to have this visit by His Eminence Sam Rinpoche's student. I have met Sam Rinpoche earlier. I had seen him at Gande Monastery, where I was serving as an abbot of Shatze Monastery. Though I do not recall it clearly, I think Rinpoche visited my center in France, and I have met him then. This time I have heard many things from his students. I have looked and listened to many things. From this, it is quite evident that he has been able to render very good service to upholding, sustaining, and propagating the Buddha's teachings in general, and the stainless teachings of the Gelug tradition in particular. In this respect, he has rendered far-reaching services. I recommend him from the heart for this. He has plans to continue rendering this service. He will certainly do so. I would also urge him to do so. This being the case, I take this occasion to commend His Eminence from the heart of this for these enlightened activities. As for me, I have now reached the ripe age of 92 or 93. The body doesn't have much shape. It has become quite weak, ready to ail or feel pain. That is how I live. This is but a fact of cyclic existence. All migratory human beings generally have the sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, and decay. As such, I do not have any misgivings. The body does not have much vitality. I live in my living room in France. It is not a monastery. As such, when I live here, it is not possible for me to be in my full robes. When one wears the robe, there are many sashes to tie. One has to tie a sash on the upper monk's shirt. One has to tie another sash for the lower robe. To tie them strains the body. So I wear what looks like a loose-fitting undergarment. I have, however, no misgiving whatsoever about this. What I would like to say this time is that His Eminence is young in age. His enlightened activities have spread quite well. Excuse me, sorry. He does have plans to take on responsibility towards the service of the teachings. I would like to urge him to bear it in that manner. The two students have a device to record this talk. It is being recorded on it. It is all right to transcribe it in writing and retain it in the book. I am not in the condition to write. I have nothing else to say specifically. I would like to thank His Eminence. I am glad. Rinpoche has been very successful in his enlightened activities. I'm glad about this. I would like to say thank you. That is all. Tashit Delek. Gande Trisol, Lunrik Namgyal, Paris, France, October 18, 2017. And for your information, this book is in English, in Chinese, and in Tibetan. Is it Tibetan? Should be. Yes. The foreword is in Tibetan. Okay. And this is a message from the Rinpoche students. We are very grateful to our kind Lama, His Eminence the 25th Sem Rinpoche, for patiently, openly, and candidly sharing so much of his life with us through the years. Most of all, we thank Rinpoche for all the teachings he continued to give us, the best one being the example of his own incredible life. And then we have the sponsors' dedications. May the merits be in dedication for our parents and Rinpoche's long life, and may Dorje Shugden's lineage spread far and wide. This is by Dr. Edwin Tan and Datin Elaine Tan, Dr. Colin Tan and Datin Sharon Tong. With this beautiful book, may the Dharma continue to grow with the teachings of His Eminence the 25th Sem Rinpoche. We also dedicate to our dear friend Datuk Mei Peng. May she live long and healthy. This is by Thomas Bomi and family, and Thomas Bomi. And dedicated to His Eminence Sem Rinpoche's long life and peace to the world. This is by Anonymous. And dedication to the health and the long life of His Eminence the 25th Sem Rinpoche. May all His Eminence's wishes come true. This is by Irene Chong and family. We also extend our heartfelt appreciation to the following kind sponsors: Jacinta, Kaylin, Jess Lai, Lee Ling Mian, Lee Kuan Ling and family, Lim Han Ni, Lim Se Lee, Lo Yik Wai, Norendra and Yap, Ong Chu Lee, Ui Ing Lai, Teo Yun Kyong, Kelvin Tom, To Ching Si, Justin Woon Choi and Wing, Madam Wong Hai Ling, Xiao Qian, Yi Kok Chi, James. Okay, a short biography. His Eminence the 25th Sem Rinpoche. Beloved for his unconventional contemporary approach to Dharma, His Eminence the 25th Sem Rinpoche brings more than 2,500 years of Buddhist wisdom and teachings to the modern spiritual seeker by connecting ancient worlds with new people, cultures, attitudes, and lifestyles. A Mongolian Tibetan heritage, a childhood in Taiwan and America, intensive monastic studies in India, and now the spiritual advisor of the Kachara organization in Malaysia. These are but some of the many facets that contribute to Sem Rinpoche's unique ability to effortlessly bridge the East and the West. His teachings bring the Dharma to our everyday lives, and in doing so, he is able to bring the ancient, time-honored Buddhist philosophies and practices into the 21st century. Sem Rinpoche has been strongly inclined towards Dharma since his early childhood, and had studied under many great Buddhist masters of the Tibetan tradition. He eventually went on to receive his monastic education at Ganden Shakse Monastery, currently located in Mangot, South India. Following the advice of his beloved guru, His Holiness Kapje Zong Rinpoche, Sem Rinpoche took his vows as a monk and joined Ganden Shakse Monastery when he was in his early 20s. In fact, Sem Rinpoche's connection with Ganden Monastery goes far back in history. One of his previous incarnations, Dozin Drakpa Gelsen, built the original Ganden Monastery in Tibet. Another incarnation, Panchen Sonam Drakpa, was not only the abbot of Ganden Monastery, but also the 15th Ganden Tripa, the throne holder of the Galupa lineage. Sem Rinpoche's two immediate preceding incarnations, Gendun Nyendra and Khentrul Thupten Langsam Rinpoche, had also studied at Ganden Shakse Monastery in Tibet, where they obtained Geshe Larampa degrees before completing their studies at Gyuton Tantric College. Notably, Panchen Sonam Drakpa was also the abbot of Gyuton Tantric College. Gendun Nendra went on to become the chant master, or Umze, and later the 72nd abbot of Ganden Shatze Monastery, while Khentrul Thupten Lamsam Rinpoche brought the Dharma to the lay people of the Pari district of Tibet. The tremendous and virtuous work of his previous lifetimes, which includes such illustrious names as Magadha Zangmo, a student of the historical Buddha, Mahasiddha Virupa, Tomi Sambota, King Trison Detsen, Mahasiddha Naropa, Losatwa Loden Sherab, Ra Losatwa, Shaka Sri Badra, Buton Rincheng Dru, Shaka Pandita, and Qing Emperor Kangxi are clearly reflection in Sam Rinpoche's present-day activities in Malaysia, where he continues his selfless practice of teaching vast numbers of non-monastic communities in places where the Dharma has just begun to bloom. During his 9 years in Ganden, Sam Rinpoche was involved in extensive charitable works, including building schools for refugee children in India, constructing dormitories, and upgrading living conditions for the monastic communities, and providing long-term assistance to the poor lay community of Bangon. Through his constant practice of generosity with a deeply altruistic motivation, Sam Rinpoche continues to sponsor Ganden's work and activities. Sam Rinpoche tirelessly shares his new ways and means of bringing happiness and relief to people from all walks of life through creative and engaging methods. Now based in Malaysia, Sam Rinpoche continues this immense work through Kechara, the progressive spiritual organization he founded, and bringing benefits to many around the world. Be inspired by His Eminence Sam Rinpoche's work and life at samtukurinpoche.com, and read about his personal views and thoughts and news at samrinpoche.com. Right. Tulkus. Tulkus are incarnations of highly attained beings who take rebirth for the sole purpose of benefiting others. They manifest their compassion by taking on the spiritual responsibilities of their previous lives, upholding and sharing the Buddha's teachings. The spiritual lineage of a Buddha. This is on page 4. His Eminence the 25th Sam Rinpoche comes from a glorious line of illustrious incarnations, the earliest of which dates back to the time of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Many incarnations later, Rinpoche returned as a direct disciple of Lama Tsongkhapa, the founder of the Gelugpa school of Tibetan Buddhism, who is also commonly known as the second Buddha in Tibet. Possessing full control over his rebirth throughout countless lifetimes, Rinpoche has returned among us today, using his pure compassion and omniscience wisdom solely to benefit each and every one of us. Rinpoche is also a Tulku. Some Tulkus are the incarnations of highly attained beings who take rebirths for the sole purpose of benefiting others. They manifest their compassion by taking on the spiritual responsibilities of their previous lives, tirelessly upholding and sharing the Buddha's teachings. There's a picture within, and the caption is, one of His Eminence the 25th Sam Rinpoche's previous incarnation dates back to a direct disciple of the 14th century Buddhist scholar and saint, Lama Tsongkhapa. And Lama Tsongkhapa is popularly known as the second Buddha and is the founder of Gelugpa's school of Tibetan Buddhism. As Tulkus have such an impactful role on the preservation and growth of Buddhism, there are many stringent guidelines for the identification and recognition of Tulkus in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, all of which are verified by highly attained teachers including figures such as His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama and the Dharma protectors Satrap and Doye Shugden through the official oracles of the monastery. Rinpoche has been recognized as a high incarnate master by many esteemed teachers such as His Holiness Kapje Dzong Rinpoche, His Eminence Khenso Jampa Yeshe Rinpoche, and His Eminence Ganchen Rinpoche, and all 24 of Rinpoche's illustrious previous lives had been formally identified and recognized by Doye Shugden via the Venerable 7th Panglong Oracle. Rinpoche's first recorded incarnation is Magadha Zangmo, a student of the historical Buddha Shakyamuni, whose contribution to the practice and growth of Buddhism was so significant that she is immortalized in the scriptures of all three Buddhist traditions, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. There's a caption for a picture. Tomorrow I'll be better prepared. Tomorrow I will share with you all the pictures so that you will understand where the caption, is related to. This Galupa refuge tree or merit field, which bears the signature of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, depicts the deities and unbroken spiritual lineage of Dharma teachers, which stems from Buddha Shakyamuni himself. Lama Tsongkhapa, year 1357 to 1419, the founder of Galupa school, is the central figure of the lineage. The main figure on the true right is Maitreya Buddha, who leads the lineage of compassion activities, while the main figure on the true left is Manjushri, who leads the lineage of wisdom activities. This assembly of deities and guru is used as a focus of meditation for Galupa practitioners. We should take note of this guru tree, because in the future, when you are more serious in your practice, you qualify for higher practice, you may need to do this visualization, it will be very helpful. Okay, page 7. The powerful spiritual imprints of His Eminence Sam Rinpoche are evident in his inspiring life story, which illustrates the unshakable and relentless pursuit of Dharma despite all odds. Rinpoche was also previously Mahasiddha Virupa, the great 9th century yogi and abbot of Nalanda Monastery, who performed incredible miracles, one of the most famous being his ability to stop the sun from setting. He brought countless beings onto the Vajrayana path. And he was also Tomi Sambhota, one of the most important ministers of the 7th Tibetan Emperor Songtsen Gampo, and inventor of the Tibetan script. He also brought the first Buddhist text from India to Tibet. King Trison Detsen, the second of the three great Dharma kings, who restored Tibet to its former glory and initiated the first dissemination of Buddhism in the land of snows. Mahasiddha Naropa, one of the 84 great Mahasiddhas of ancient India, who was renowned for his devotion to his guru, Tilopa. Naropa is also the father of Rajayogini Tantras. Hence, this powerful female Buddha is also known as Naropa's Dakini or Narokacho. Lord Sawa Lorden Sharap, the prolific translator and teacher who single-handedly translated over 135,000 verses from Sanskrit to Tibetan. Lorden Sharap also brought the lineage and practice of Dharma protector Satrap from India to Tibet. Ra Losatwa, one of the most famous translator and enlightened sorcerer, who introduced and successfully spread the powerful Yamantaka Tantras throughout Tibet in the 11th century. Shaka Sri Bhadra, the famed Indian Pandit, who was head of the incomparable Indian institutions of Dharma learning, Viramakshela and Nalanda. He gave a wealth of sutra and tantra teachings in Tibet, including the 5 main texts of Buddhist philosophy. Buton Rinchen Drup, the pioneering scholar and translator who completed the monumental task of compiling the Kangyo, the spoken teachings of Lord Buddha, and Tangyo, the commentaries written by Buddha's spiritual heirs, which are the two principal references for all schools of Tibetan Buddhism today. Shakya Pandita, the fourth Shakya throne holder, whose excellence in debate was so formidable that he silenced 6 Theravada scholars, including the renowned Harinanda. His influence spread as far as China and Mongolia, where he performed the miracles of the Emanation Temple. He authored over 100 texts and translated many important works. Dozin Drakpa Gyaltsen, one of the 8 main disciples of the renowned scholar saint Lama Tsongkhapa. Among his greatest contribution to Buddhism was the building of Ganden Monastery in Tibet to uphold and preserve the teachings of his masters, thus paving the way for the Gelugpa tradition to become one of the fastest growing Buddhist traditions in the world today. Panchen Sonam Drakpa, the unparalleled master who was the only person in history to become the abbot of all 3 great Gelugpa monasteries, Ganden, Sera, and Drepung, in a single lifetime. He was also the tutor to His Holiness the 3rd Dalai Lama, the abbot of Gyuton Tantric College, and the 15th Ganden Tripa, the throne holder of the Gelugpa lineage. Emperor Kangxi, the 2nd Qing dynasty emperor to rule over China. He was one of China's greatest and most benevolent emperors who stabilized the empire, brought economic prosperities, and was a great patron of Chinese art and culture. Gendun Nedrak, the 19th century master and the 72nd abbot of Ganden Shatze Monastery, who restored the damaged buildings of the monastery and reinstated the monastic rules, regulations, and administrative systems. Khentrul Thupten Langsam Rinpoche, a great Buddhist scholar and teacher who single-handedly and tirelessly made Buddhism flourish in the region of Pari, Tibet. Now we go to the first of Rinpoche's reincarnation, which is on page 10. There's a picture there of Magadha Zangmo, and the caption is Magadha Zangmo, the great female student of historical Buddha Shakyamuni, began the tradition of offering food and incense, which is still practiced today. So now, the story of Magadha Zangmo. Magadha Zangmo. Sam Rinpoche's very first recognized incarnation was Magadha Zangmo, the daughter of Sudatta, who was a disciple and primary patron of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. It was Sudatta who built and offered Buddha the first monastic abode called Jetavana. Sudatta's practice of generosity earned him the name Anatta Pindika, which translates as feeder of the homeless and helpless. It was also Sudatta who established the correct attitude to follow when sponsoring the virtuous work and deeds of one's guru. Following in the footsteps of her father, Magadha Zangmo began the tradition of offering food and incense to the Buddha and his monastic community, which is still practiced to this day. She is perhaps best known for single-handedly bringing Buddhism to thousands in the city of Gongkara. Magadha Zangmo invited the Buddha and his entourage to Gongkara to partake of a meal by offering incense and heartfelt prayers from the rooftop of her home. When Buddha and his entourage miraculously descended from the sky the very next day to partake of the food offerings and give teachings, thousands developed faith and their minds turned to Dharma. Thus, Magadha Zangmo's story is one of pure devotion towards the Buddha that in turn makes the Dharma available to countless others, and she is immortalized in the scriptures of all 3 Buddhist traditions, Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana. Through her faith, devotion, and selflessness in serving others, she achieved arhatship during her lifetime as a lay householder. Another indication that one does not need to be ordained in order to gain realizations. Page 11. Mahasiddha Virupa, 9th century CE. One of Sam Rinpoche's previous lives was the great Mahasiddha Virupa, who lived during the era of the 84 Mahasiddhas of India. Mahasiddhas are yogis who have achieved great attainments through their tantric practice, and as a result display unconventional and often conventional behavior attributes to their profound realizations of the teachings. Virupa was a monk and incumbent of Nalanda Monastery, who was later enthroned as its abbot. During the day, Virupa would debate, compose Dharma texts, and give teachings on the sutras, while at night he would secretly engage in the practices of chakra samvara. However, after many years of practice without any apparent results, and after a series of bad dreams he misread to be negative signs, he vowed to stop pursuing the Vajrayana path and symbolically threw his mala into the latrine. That very night, the female Buddha Nairamya appeared to Virupa in a dream and revealed that he was on the verge of spiritual realizations. The next day, Virupa retrieved and purified his mala, persevered with his practice, and over the next 7 days gained increasing realizations until he achieved the 6th stage of enlightenment on the 7th day. Shortly thereafter, rumors began to spread in the monastery that he consumed meat in intoxicant. Others saw beautiful women in the vicinity of his chambers, although in actuality they were Dakinis, celestial beings, partaking of his offerings. Consequently, Virupa was evicted from the monastery for his supposedly misdeeds. Thereafter, Virupa roamed the countryside as a wandering yogi and manifested outrageous behavior which included frequenting brothels and drinking establishments, wearing flower garlands on his head, and putting all manners of random items into his mouth like insects and radishes. This was also the period during which he performed many miracles, including parting the river Ganges. Amongst his miraculous deeds, Virupa is perhaps most famous for stopping the sun from setting while drinking at a tavern. In the end, the entire kingdom, along with the king, became his disciples. With his eccentric ways, Virupa performed many miracles to bring countless beings to the Dharma. One of his foremost disciples was the Mahasiddha Dombi Heruka, who was one of the previous life of Lama Tsongkhapa. On page 12, there was a picture of the great Mahasiddha Virupa. The caption is, "The great Mahasiddha Virupa, well known for parting the river Ganges and stopping the sun from setting, was in fact a highly realized being known for his tantric practice." Page 13, Tomi Sambota, 619 CE to unknown. Sam Rinpoche's third recognized incarnation is the legendary Tombi Sambota, an exceptionally intelligent Tibetan scholar who is credited with the invention of Tibetan script. During the reign of Emperor Songtsen Gampo, Tombi Sambota, along with 7 other scholars, was chosen to travel to India to study the Indian language, grammar, lexicography, poetry, literature, and philosophy, with the ultimate goal of creating a script for the Tibetan language. As the sole survivor of the expedition, Tombi Sambota returned with various texts and written materials, which were some of the very first Buddhist scriptures to enter Tibet from India. Upon his return to Tibet, Tombi Sambota commenced the monumental project of developing the Tibetan script based on the Devanagari and Kashmiri scripts. He also composed 6 treatises on Tibetan grammar, 2 of which are still in use today. These works not only form the foundation of the country's written language, but also enable many precious texts to be translated from Sanskrit to Tibetan, including the 21 tantric texts on Avalokiteshvara, as well as the composition of Mani Kabum, collection of teachings on Avalokiteshvara. Hence, Tomisambhota's legacy encompasses the establishment of Tibetan literacy and literary culture, as well as preservation of Buddhist scriptures through the Kangyo, spoken teachings of Lord Buddha, and Tangyo, commentaries written by Buddha's spiritual heirs, which are some of the most complete and intact texts available today. There's a picture, and it's the caption is, "Renowned translator and father of Tibetan script, Tomisambhota, established literacy and literary culture in Tibet through his effort to spread the Dharma." Page 14. King Trison Datsun, 742 to 800 CE. Tirelessly returning to spread the Dharma, another of Sam Rinpoche's previous incarnation is King Trison Datsun, the second of the three great Dharma kings of Tibet, whose work provided a strong foundation for Buddhism to flourish in the land of snow. King Trison Datsun successfully defended Tibet against military invasion and expanded Tibet's territory, restoring the country to its former glory under the reign of King Songtsen Gampo. He is best remembered for his patronage of Buddhism, which led to the first dissemination of Buddhist teachings in Tibet by great masters such as Santara Sikta, Padmasambhava, and Kamala Shila. King Trison Datsun collaborated with Santara Sikta to build Samye Monastery, the first Buddhist monastery in Tibet, which later became a center for Dharma activities. Samye Monastery also bore witness to the ordination of the first members of the Tibetan monastic community. However, the construction of this holy site was plagued with various obstacles which hindered its completion, caused by the rituals of jealous pre-Buddhist born shamans who worshipped a powerful divinity called Peha. The Indian master Padmasambhava was invited to subdue Peha, which he did successfully. Subsequently, Peha became known as Nechong, a Dharma protector sworn to protect Dharma practitioners from outer, inner, and secret obstacles. King Trison Datsun was also famous for hosting a 2-year debate between Huangshan Mohoyen, the Chinese Chan meditation master, and the Indian scholar Kamala Sila, as he believed that the Chan master was spreading misinterpreted teachings. Kamala Sila's victory refocused Tibet's attention on India as the source of pure Dharma teachings. And the picture there with the caption, King Trison Datsun, second of the three great Dharma kings, established the first Buddhist monastery in Tibet. Page 15. Mahasiddha Naropa, 1016 to 1100. Sam Rinpoche's exemplary guru devotion is not surprising, given that this fifth incarnation was none other than the great Mahasiddha Naropa, who was revered for his renunciation, his perfect practice of guru devotion, and his faultless teachings that continue to lead practitioners on the swift path towards enlightenment. Born into a noble family of Pulahari, Naropa abandoned a life of luxury to pursue the path of liberation in Nalanda Monastery, where he received full ordination vows and a rigorous education for 10 years. Despite rising to the rank of Mahapandita, one of the 4 highest ranking professors at Nalanda, Naropa still left the monastery in search of his guru, Tilopa. This happened after a conversation with a Dakini in the form of an elderly woman made him realize that his highly accomplished intellectual understanding of the Dharma did not equate to the attainment of enlightenment. Naropa traveled all over India in search of the Mahasiddha Tilopa, only to be rejected, beaten, chastised for many years once he had found him. Only after enduring the 12 major and 12 lesser trials, which served to break through Naropa's pride, did Tilopa begin to impart instructions that led to Naropa's full realization of Mahamudra in just 12 years. Considered one of the 84 great Mahasiddhas of ancient India, Naropa was the teacher of the Tibetan mystic Marpa Losatwa, who went on to institute the Kangyo school of Tibetan Buddhism. Naropa also transmitted the teachings to his sister, who eventually became known as the great yogini Niguma. Naropa is also the father of the Rajayogini Tantras. He gained a vision of Rajavarahi in the form of Rajayogini, who then initiated him into a new practice based on the Chakrasamvara cycle of teachings. Hence, this powerful female Buddha is also known as Naropa's Dakini or Narokacho. Naropa's legacy to us is the sixth yoga of Naropa and the powerful Rajayogini Tantras, one of the most efficacious practices for practitioners of our time. The affinity between Rajayogini and Sem Rinpoche's line of incarnations is further reflected in the founding of Kachara's organization, which is named after Rajayogini's paradise. 16. There's a picture and the caption is the father of six yoga of Naropas, the Rajayogini Tantras. Naropa is known for his strong guru devotion and faultless teachings. Page 17. Losatwa Loden Sherab, 1059 to 1109. In the era where Buddhism was being transmitted in Tibet, a former incarnation of Sem Rinpoche took rebirth in Loka within the illustrious Nyok family. The young boy was educated by his uncle, the famous Nyok Losawa Lekpe Sherab, who was one of Atisha's main disciples. In 1076, the young boy was ordained in Sangpu Nyotong Monastery, which was founded by Lekpe Sherab in 1073 and was given the name Loden Sherab. That same year, Loden Sherab attended the very important Fire Dragon Religious Conference, which was attended by many of the most important Buddhist minds of that era, patronized by King Sede of O-Gyuge Kingdom. The conference aimed to facilitate better translations, and the young Loden Sherab was selected to travel to India to study Sanskrit. One of his 5 travel companions was the famous translator Ra Losatwa Dorje Druk. Loden Sherab returned to Tibet in 1092, bringing with him many treatises including the practice and lineage of the Dharma protector Satrap. He remained in Sangpu Monastery for the rest of his life, single-handedly translated over 135,000 verses from Sanskrit to Tibetan, and teaching up to 20,000 students at a time. He was the second abbot of Sangpu Monastery, and upon his passing, auspicious signs such as rainbows, lights, and musical sounds were witnessed. His foremost disciples were Zhang Sepongwa, Choki Lama, and Drolungpa Jungme. There's a picture there. The caption is, Losatwa Loden Sherab was a great translator, abbot, and teacher. He also brought the lineage and practice of Dharma protector Satrap from India to Tibet. Page 18. Ra Losatwa Dorje Druk, 1016 to 1128. Within the same era as Loden Sherab, another former incarnation of Sam Rinpoche took rebirth amidst auspicious signs as the great translator Ra Losatwa Dorje Drak, who was most famous for proliferating the Yamantaka Tantras in Tibet. Highly regarded as an emanation of Manjushri, Ra Losatwa was a brilliant young man and was selected during the Fire Dragon Religious Conference to be sent to India along with Losatwa Loden Sherab and other companions to study Sanskrit. While he was studying in Kashmir, he received the Kalachakra initiation and practiced from Samatashri. He subsequently came under the tutelage of the great Nepalese Prajacharya, Baro Chakdum, from whom he received the Yamantaka and Vrajavarahi lineages. He also studied under Mahakaruna, a disciple of Narupa's lineage, and received the Chakrasamvara's initiation and practice. Upon his return to Tibet, he began proliferating these tantras. Of all the tantras that Ra Losatwa brought to Tibet, it was the proliferation of the Yamantaka Tantras that was met with the greatest opposition. Many could not believe that Yamantaka, bearing the main face of a buffalo, was a Buddhist practice, and he received tremendous criticism. The opposition was so fierce that he eventually had no choice but to slay 13 lamas that challenged his lineage in magical combat. He did this using a special rite of the Yamantaka Tantras, and thus the Yamantaka Tantras eventually became established as one of the most widely proliferated tantric systems in Tibet. His illustrious career as a translator and sponsor of Buddhist scriptures was one of the most impactful amongst countless other translators of that time. Ra Losatwa's greatest deed included renovating Samye Monastery and many other temples in southern Sang and Lato, on which he spent most of his wealth. His heart son was Ra Chora. The picture with the caption, Ra Losatwa Dorje Drak, who proliferated the Yamantaka Tantras in Tibet, was a scholar and translator and regarded to be an emanation of Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom. Page 20. Shakya Sri Bhadra, 1127 to 1225. I repeat, 1127 to 1225. Sam Rinpoche's line of incarnations once again occupied the position of Mahapandita of Nalanda Monastery in the form of Shakya Sri Bhadra, who was later appointed the abbot of both Nalanda and Vikramashila monasteries. Shakya Sri Bhadra's fame grew far and wide, and he was a highly sought-after teacher who turned the wheel of Sutrayana and Tantrayana in Tibet through the effort of Trokpo Losatwa Rinchen Sengye, an outstanding translator and debater. Together with his entourage, Shakya Sri Bhadra traveled to many monastic seats in the land of snow, giving extensive teachings covering a range of topics including the 5 main texts of Buddhist philosophy. He contributed to the other schools of Buddhism. His contribution to the other schools of Buddhism is also mentioned in the lineage of Vrajakilaya practice and Drigung Kagyu school. Throughout his travels, Shakya Sri Bhadra ordained innumerable monks into the Kashmiri Vijnana system that eventually became the guiding principles of the monastic rules of the Shakya, Kagyu, and later the Gelug tradition. The picture and caption, Shakya Sri Bhadra was the abbot of the 2 Indians' most prestigious learning institutes, Nalanda and Vikramashila. Traveling to Tibet, he gave many philosophical teachings and spread the monastic system that became key in 3 different traditions. Page 21. Shakya Pandita, year 1182 to 1251. The mind stream of Sam Rinpoche also arose in the 12th century as the unparalleled logician and debater Shakya Pandita Kunga Gyaltsen. He was the grandson of the first Shakya throne holder, Sachen Kunga Nimpo, and would himself be enthroned as the fourth Shakya throne holder. Born in western Tibet, the young boy exhibited the auspicious signs of an extraordinary being, spontaneously speaking Sanskrit without being taught, and memorizing holy scriptures in his dreams. He was the principal disciple of the great Shakya master Jetsun Drakpa Gyaltsen, and also a close disciple of Shakya Sri Bhadra, who himself was the previous incarnation of Sam Rinpoche. Shakya Pandita was a formidable master and debater of the Buddhist philosophical treatises, and successfully silenced many Trayajika logicians and scholars in public debates, including the famous Harinanda. He was a prolific author and translator, composing over 100 highly influential Buddhist texts, including Treasury of Valid Reasoning. The Tibetan name should be Sakma Riks. Treasury of Good Advice, Lex Pa Bisa Pa Rinpoche Gator, and a clear differentiation of the three codes, Dong Sum Rab Be. Shakya Pandita also created the Mongolian alphabet, which was later revised by scholars. Shakya Pandita's fame was such that it spread all over Tibet and into China. He was the first Tibetan to spread the teachings of Tibetan Buddhism outside Tibet, receiving an invitation to visit China from Godangkang, the Mongol ruler of China. Upon meeting this great Buddhist sage in 1247, the Mongol prince sought to put Shakya Pandita to the test. He secretly requested court magician to conjure a vision of a temple and asked Shakya Pandita to consecrate it. Not knowing the plot, Shakya Pandita blessed the illusory temple with a sprinkling of flowers. To the consternation of the prince, the magicians were unable to dissolve the illusion because the temple had become real through Shakya Pandita's ritual and blessings. The prince then knelt, confessed his doubts, and took heartfelt refuge in Shakya Pandita, signifying the beginning of a friendly priest-patron Dharma relationships between the two. When Shakya Pandita eventually passed into clear light, he left behind numerous disciples, including his nephew, Chogyal Pakpa, to continue his work in China. There's a picture with a caption. The fourth Shakya throne holder, Shakya Pandita, was a formidable master and undefeated debater known for his magical feats. On page 23, there's a picture, the caption being, Champion of the Kalachakra Tantras and Abbot of Zalu Monastery, Butong Rinchen Dru, is credited with the compilation and translation of the Kangyo and Tangyo collections. Butong Rinchen Dru, 1290 to year 1364. The 13th incarnation of Sam Rinpoche was born as the omniscient Shakya master Butong Rinchen Dru, a prodigious scholar, writer, and possibly Tibet's most celebrated historian. As a young boy, he displayed many auspicious signs, being able to perceive and communicate directly with Manjushri and discern the difference between pure and impure Buddhist commentaries. As a young man, he counted the greatest masters and abbots of his time as his teachers, and swiftly studied and mastered the breadth and width of Sutra and Tantra. He also learnt Sanskrit easily, as if he were merely recalling it from pre-existing memory, and translated many sacred Sanskrit texts, even correcting existing translations and writing commentaries on the text he translated. While in his 20s, Butong Rinchen Drup became one of the most important champions of the Kalachakra Tantras in Tibetan history, receiving all possible transmission of this practice and prolifically passing the lineage on to others. When he was 31, Butong Rinchen Drup was appointed as the 11th abbot of Zalu Monastery, a position he held for 37 years. During his tenure, he established a college for the study of both the Sutra and newer Tantras which were arriving in Tibet from India. Under his leadership, Zalu Monastery soon became an indispensable place of Buddhist learning and scholarship. At that time, the Buddhist monasteries of India were being systematically destroyed by a wave of Muslim invaders. This spurred Butong Rinchen Drup to embark on an ambitious project of compiling and translating the monumental Kangyo and Tangyo collections. The Kangyo consists of 108 volumes of the Buddha's spoken word, while the Tangyo consists of various commentaries by Indian and Tibetan masters. These two encyclopedic collections became the basis of the survival of Buddhism in Tibet and are essentially references for Buddhists of all traditions until today. Butong Rinchen Drup himself also audited 26 volumes of commentaries, including the famed History of Buddhism. His prominent disciples include the 5th abbot of Jonang, Chole Nyamgyal, and the 2nd Gangka Lama Rinchen Zangpo. Drak Sepa Rinchen Namgyal, who succeeded him as abbot of Zalu, and Yutong Doje Pel. Page 25. Duzing Drapa Geltsen, year 1374 to 1434. During the time of the great Manjunatha Lama Tsongkhapa Losang Drapa, Sam Rinpoche's previous incarnation was born in central Tibet as the great Vijnana holder, Duzin Drapa Geltsen, who was one of the 8 main disciples of Lama Tsongkhapa. He was ordained by the Shakya master Drigong Choje and became his ritual assistant. In Tibetan, it's called Zimpong. He also studied under Drigong Kutok Nyen Nimpa and mastered the entire corpus of Sutra and Tantra through the works of Butong Rinchen Drup, who was also one of his previous lives. However, no master inspired him as much as when he first met his root guru, his root Lama, Lama Tsongkhapa Losang Drapa. Although Duzin Drapa Geltsen was the epitome of Guru devotion and served his Lama all his life, many viewed his practice and attainments to be equal to that of Lama Tsongkhapa, and both were considered emanations of the Bodhisattva Manjushri. He also held his 3 sets of vows, Pratimoksha, Bodhisattva, and Tantric vows, so well that he was given the title Vijnana holder, or in Tibetan, Dulwa Zimpa, which is shortened to Dulzin. When Lama Tsongkhapa began to age, Duzin Drapa Geltsen feared for his master's health, as Lama Tsongkhapa was highly sought after to give teachings all over Tibet. Thus, this perfect disciple took on the responsibility of building the first ever Gelug monastery, Ganden Monastery, in Lhasa to preserve his master's health, teachings, and lineage for future generations. Duzin Drapa Geltsen also founded Sung Mo Sel Monastery in Takse Dzong. Duzin Drapa Geltsen was so highly regarded that upon Lama Tsongkhapa's paranirvana, he was requested to ascend the throne as the first Ganden Tripa or Gelugpa throne holder. However, he humbly declined, preferring to serve his guru in other ways, and offered the honor to Elder Gyaltsab J instead. He then retired to his monastery and entered clear light. In his biography, His Holiness Khabje Trijang Rinpoche clearly stated that when he witnessed the opening of Dozin Drapa Gyaltsen's tomb in Tibet, he could smell the sweet scent of a devoted vow holder emanating from the remains. He also saw with his own eyes that the hair and nails of Dozin Drapa Gyaltsen were miraculously growing. Dozin Drapa Gyaltsen's student includes Jamyang Choje Tashi Palden, who founded Drepung Monastery, and most of the other important Gelup masters of the time. There's a picture on page 26. The caption is, known for his ability to adhere strongly to his vows, Dozin Drapa Gyaltsen was one of the main disciples of Lama Tsongkhapa and famous for constructing the first Gelup monastery, Ganden Monastery, in order to preserve and propagate his guru's teachings. Page 27. Panchen Sonam Drapa, 1478 to year 1554. Dozin Drapa Gyaltsen then took rebirth as the unparalleled scholar and master Panchen Sonam Drapa, originally named Sonam Drapa. The honorific title of Panchen was bestowed upon him for his mastery of the Sutra and Tantra teachings. Panchen Sonam Drapa is the only person in history to become the abbot of the three great Gelupa monasteries, Ganden, Sera, and Drepung, in one single lifetime. He was also appointed as the abbot of Gyutong Tantric College and ascended the throne as the 15th Ganden Tripa, the esteemed throne holder of the Gelupa lineage. Panchen Sonam Drapa's brilliant scholarship and attainments are evident in his composition on various subjects, totaling 45 volumes. His works were highly regarded by the greatest scholars of his time and are still studied at Ganden Shachze, Drepung Loseling, and Rato monasteries today as part of the Geshe program of study, as well as in Gyutong Tantric College. While serving as the Ganden throne holder, he also composed two famous dedication verses that are recited to this day by all Gelupas. This incredible master had many great students, but none were as famous as His Holiness the Third Dalai Lama, Sonam Gyatso, who would in that very lifetime convert the Mongol king Altan Khan and start the transmission of Buddhism in Mongolia. There's a picture with the caption, renowned as the only figure in history to have been abbot of Ganden, Sera, and Drepung monasteries in a single lifetime. Panchen Sonam Drapa also became the abbot of Gyutong Tantric College and served as the 15th Ganden Tripa, a master scholar. His works are still studied to this day in monasteries. Page 28. Emperor Kangxi, 1654 to 1722. Emperor Kangxi was the fourth emperor of Qing dynasty and the second Qing emperor to rule over China. He was one of China's greatest and most benevolent emperors. Reigning over China for 61 years, Kangxi protected his land and people from invasion, preserved harmony within his kingdom, and even expanded the empire to the northwest. His era was one of prosperity, as he restored peace to the nation after a tumultuous period of war and strife. China's economy was also safeguarded with the restoration of Grand Canal and the control of floodwaters from the Yellow River. Besides establishing a powerful political and economic position, Kangxi also played a vital role in the preservation and development of China's cultural heritage, such as the compilation of the Kangxi Dictionary, an encyclopedia, and many volumes of Chinese literature, amongst others. On the spiritual and religious front, Kangxi built many temples and monasteries all over China, but principally on Wutaishan, also known as Five Peak Mountains. He would travel frequently to this mountain, which is said to be an abode of Bodhisattva Manjushri, to offer prayers in memory of his grandmother. He also offered financial support for the construction of Amabayasgaland Monastery in Mongolian to house the remains of the first Kalka Jetsun Dampa, who was also known as Zanabaza. Kangxi built several other Tibetan Buddhist monasteries, including the famous Ganden Samseling Monastery in Yunnan. Kangxi's success is partly attributed to his masterful approach in managing relationships with leaders, as well as the rank and title. No task was too small for his attention or too difficult for him. Today, Sam Rinpoche's skillful methods, compassionate guidance, and hands-on approach are not so different to that of this great 17th century emperor. There's a picture of Emperor Kangxi with the caption, Emperor Kangxi of Qing Dynasty reigned for over 61 years. Known for his benevolence, he also played a key role in the development of China's cultural heritage. Page 29. Gedun Nedrak. A more recent incarnation of Sam Rinpoche is Gedun Nedrak, the 19th century master who was known for his scholastic achievements and adherence to the monastic code of conduct. After taking novice monk's vows at a young age, Gedun Nedrak undertook the long and hazardous journey from Sam Monastery to LaSalle to join Pukang Kanzeng of Ganden Shatze Monastery, where he received extensive teachings such as the 5 great treatises from many illustrious teachers. Upon completion of his studies with a Geshe Larampa degree, which is likened to a PhD in Buddhist studies, Gedun Nedrak proceeded to Gyutong Tantric College to achieve mastery of the Tantras. In serving the monastic order, Gedun Nedrak acted as chant master, or Umze in Tibetan, Ganden Shatze Monastery, which was followed by his appointment as the 72nd abbot of the monastery by the regent of Tibet. As abbot, Gedun Nedrak not only restored monastery buildings, but also reinstated strict adherence to the monastic rules, regulations, and administration system of the community. Like his previous incarnations, Sam Rinpoche continues this commitment and dedication to Ganden Monastery and its Sangha community. Even at a very young age, Rinpoche undertook projects such as building the much-needed monastic quarters for the increasing influx of refugee monks from Tibet. Later, he took on the responsibilities of restoring and developing the main prayer halls and debate hall, 2 of the most central and significant places of gathering and learning for the monastic community of Ganden. On page 30, there's a picture and the caption is, the remarkable achievements of Gedun Nedrak's ardent spiritual practice arose again in his next incarnation, and he became widely known throughout the Tibetan Buddhist world for his contributions to the growth of Dharma. Page 31. There's a picture, and on page 30. On page 32, Khentrul Tutem Langsam Rinpoche. Born amidst auspicious signs, during his mother's pregnancy, the clear and unmistaken incarnation of Gedun Nedrak was personally identified by none other than His Holiness Kapje Trijang Rinpoche, one of the most prominent Buddhist masters of our time. This incarnation was called Khentrul Thupten Lamsang Rinpoche, a name that continues to resonate across the monastic communities today. The early days. Although originally assigned to Drigung Tangkya Monastery in the town of Tangkya near Lasal, Khentrul Thupten Lamsang Rinpoche later joined the elite monastic community of Gandeshakse Monastery in Lasal, one of Tibet's largest and most famous monastic universities, where he was recognized as the incarnation of their 72nd abbot, Gedun Nedrak. The move to Ganden proved to be a favorable one, as the young incarnation swiftly reconnected with the practices of his previous lives, with a show of dynamic academic powers and excellence in his understanding of Buddhist study. Under the excellent tutelage of His Holiness Kapje Trijang Rinpoche, Khentrul Rinpoche attained the Geshe Larampa degree just as he had in his previous incarnation as Gedun Nedrak. Usually requiring at least 30 years of study, Khentrul Rinpoche attained the degree at a young age, way ahead of his peers. He continued his studies at the prestigious Gyutong Tantric College, one of the highest monastic institutions of the Tibetan Buddhist world, specializing in the most advanced teachings and practices of Tantra. Again, Khentrul Rinpoche would excel and rise quickly, earning tremendous respect for his outstanding abilities and knowledge. Within 1 year, Khentrul Rinpoche was elected as the disciplinary, or Gekku in Tibetan, of the monastery, one of the 3 most senior positions that can be held in any Galupa institution, the other 2 being chant master, Umze, or an abbot. Reviving Buddhism, page 33. During lifetime after lifetime to turn the wheel of Dharma, Sam Rinpoche's incarnations seek to teach the significance and impact of the Dharma as the era we live in continues to degenerate. While the works of previous incarnations brought the Buddha's teachings to Dharma-barren lands, Khentrul Thupten Lamsang Rinpoche's work involved reviving the Dharma in places where it was beginning to dissipate. With his wealth of knowledge, erudite training, and mastery of the teachings and practices, Khentrul Rinpoche was sent by His Holiness Kapje Trijang Rinpoche to some of the most remote parts of Tibet to restore dilapidated monasteries and reignite the teachings and practices in those places. Khentrul Rinpoche's first such assignment was Dadokang Monastery, a branch of Gyutong Monastery in the remote state of Pari that borders Tibet and India. When Khentrul Rinpoche first arrived in the area, Dharma activity was scarce, and with little support for the monasteries and infrequent interaction with the lay community. During his 3 years tenure as abbot of Dadokang Monastery, Khentrul Rinpoche overcame all odds and succeeded in making the Dharma grow once again. Khentrul Rinpoche refurbished the monastery, built large Buddha statues, and reintroduced the practice of extensive pujas, which is prayer rituals, for the people of Pari. The revival of activities restored faith in the hearts of both the lay and ordained communities. People began making offerings which supported both Dadokang and the mother monastery, Gyutong. Words of Khentrul Rinpoche's incredible accomplishments began to spread throughout the region, marking the beginning of many such challenges for the rest of his life. The efforts to revive Dharma from ruins would be repeated and intensify in difficulty for Khentrul Rinpoche, who subsequently undertook the responsibility of restoring and leading Samdrup Cheling Monastery in South Pari. and Rizong Butong Monastery, Samdrup Cheling in a monastery is a Rizong Butong Monastery. Samdrup Cheling is a monastery Khentrul Rinpoche built himself, while Rizong Butong Monastery is an affiliate of Ganden Shatse. Khentrul Rinpoche's success in returning Dharma to its glory for the benefit of the local community garnered him great fame and respect that spread far and wide, reaching the Chinese authority who took notice and recognized him to be the leading force of Dharma in the region. Khentrul Rinpoche established what would become thriving Dharma communities that further improved the conditions of the monasteries, created large central images of worship, and directed resources back to the mother monasteries of Ganden and Gyuto. Today, the same passionate and tenacious spirit lives on in the succeeding and current incarnation, Sam Rinpoche, who is spearheading the growth of Dharma in places where it is still in its infancy. Like his predecessors, Sam Rinpoche has dedicated his life to creating life-size Buddhist images, building physical Dharma institutions of learning, as well as disseminating spiritual teachings to millions and creating Dharma communities throughout the internet, reaching the most unlikely corners of the world. On page 34, there's the picture with the caption, Sam Monastery, located in Yara in the eastern region of Kham, Tibet, was established by the great master Jamyang Gewei Lodro, Sam being the honorific Tibetan word for tooth. This monastery was well known for being a custodian of a tooth relic of Lama Tsongkhapa. Rinpoche's recognition name, therefore, has its origins in and is strongly linked to this monastery. There's another picture with a short caption of inside the main prayer hall of Sam Monastery. So I will stop here, and tomorrow I will continue on with Rinpoche's biography. It's very interesting, isn't it? So if you haven't done so, you should get one for yourself and look up all the interesting pictures of his incarnations. Such illustrious incarnation line. So, and now I will go on to the questions on my Facebook page. From Valentina, thank you for explanation of the Guru Tree painting. Why is this painting important for Dharma practitioners? It's important because it helps us with visualization, and in some of the practices, the higher practices, we have to visualize all our lineage gurus. So this one will be very helpful because when you visualize, because your practice comes from all the lineage, comes through the lineage gurus, and as such, all your blessings will also come through the lineage gurus. And this is very helpful, in our visualization. From Yin Teo, why do we have to study the biography of High Lama, especially our own Lama? Well, first of all, their lives are here. They live their lives, here because they are really very highly attained, and by their compassion, they return lifetimes after lifetimes, to teach us, to bring us the Dharma, to help us out of our sufferings. So, and as such, we read their read about, you know, how they live their life, which is also example for us to live by, and to inspire us, you know, that it is possible for us to attain the same, you know, if we were to follow the teachings and the practices. And the other high lamas, you know, is their lives are really quite extraordinary and very inspiring, you know. And I don't know, for me, you know, it's, if I read them, you know, it all brings, you know, that, you know, although it's like something, you know, so, you know, extraordinary, that's the word I would say, you know, that, but the thing is, it's still possible, see. So it's good to read up and inspire yourself with that. And from Valentina: Dear Sophie, you mentioned about many illustrious incarnations of His Eminence Sam Rinpoche. Who recognized Rinpoche as an incarnate Lama? He was actually recognized by His Holiness, his root guru, Zong Rinpoche. This was during his time in Los Angeles. But we will get to that part when I read further down in the biography. Okay, from Pastor Adeline: What stood out from what you have read today? Well, everything, you know, is about his past life, you know. You see how illustrious, you know, all his previous incarnation, you know, starting from Magada Zangmo, you know, where she has left a legacy that is still being carried out today, you know, every day today, you know, when we make offerings or of food, or offerings of incense, you know, even all, you know, throughout all the Buddhist traditions, you know, everyone is doing that. So this is actually a legacy from Magada Zangmo. So even from beginning from that already, you know, you see how she has how her greatness is there, and she has brought thousands of people, you know, to become Buddhist, you know, to become Buddhist, you know, to find, I mean, to start their path, you know, out of suffering, you know. So, and there's Naropa, you know, and his guru devotion. Oh, that one is if you were to really, you know, read into his life, you know, and able to do what he does, you know, for Tilopa, you'll be very impressed. And then there's the magical, you know, Birupa, you know, where he stopped the sun for 3 days. You know, all each and every one of his incarnations, you know, they have done very, very special things to bring Dharma to the people. So everything. And from Pastor Adeline: Which one of the reincarnation inspire you and why? I would say Magada Zangmo and Naropa. Magada Zangmo, well, since I'm female, that's why she is female as well, but it doesn't stop her from her guru devotion, and her being many miles away from Buddha. Then due to her devotion, she still was able to pass her message, you know, to Buddha. And you see how Buddha, you know, had came and accepted her invitation, you know. That is due to that pure samaya together, you know. And also then Naropa, you know, the extent that he went through, you know, the sufferings and everything, you know, just so that the I mean, and he never gave up, you know. He has such faith in his guru and trust in his guru, that he willingly went through everything, and that, it's just a way that his guru gave, to break his pride and to open him up to accept, the further practice. So these two, is very inspiring. Sorry, there's something I need to refresh my Facebook. Sorry, there's a disconnection from my Facebook, so I'm not able to see all the questions that's balanced there. But it's okay. So, as such, I will end the session. I will end the session here, and if there's any questions left, I will answer them in my Facebook. Thank you very much for joining me today, and be alert, stay tuned, so that you join me tomorrow for the second part of the reading. And if you haven't, it's highly recommended that you get your own copy of The Promise. It's a worthy book, very good book to keep and to read over and over again to inspire yourself. Thank you very much. So I will end this with a completion dedication in Tibetan. Jang Sencho Rinpoche, Make Panam Geshi, Ke Panam Pame Payang, Goni Gondo Pewashu, Tony Toa Rinpoche, Make Panam Geshi, Ke Panam Pame Payang, Goni Gondo Pewashu, Dasojini Sapagi Wadi, Tandandroa Gunda Gampada, Jepa Jesun Losan Trapai, Tampingin Poring to Sa Se Sho, Kewa Kunto Yandala Madan, Drami Choki Pala Lo Choching, Sadam Langi Yatera Zone, Doje Changi Ngopanga to So, Gewa Di, Yududa, Lamasangi Druyuni, Drewa Chikamalu. Lupa de sala gopashu joki kya posongkapa josu nampa pewala geki samasi wadang jongki malu sangwasho dadam sangi dosandan drewa sangi latene gewa losandrapai tampa yu riva yu shi ni modele sendele ni mi gunyandele shi Sing tato dele pel, concho songi jingilo, concho songi ngodruso, concho songi trasi sho, jesu nama kusen rapting ching, nam katrini jojo ke pada, losam tempe drome sab songi, droe munsa tato ni gyushi, gawai rahoi koi shinkam dem, bendan dewa mali gyuini, cheren zik wan tensing get soi, shape shi de badu den gyushi. Home don't pay ngotro malupa, den de dala sal duso, kodan dem palong chok nam, ke paso shik shuk ten sel. By the way, there's a puja going on tomorrow at Kachara Forest Retreat, starting at 10 o'clock until 4:30. If you have time, please do join us. It's very blessed because it's carried out according to Tibetan monastic practice. So join us. See you if you can.